Welcome to the introduction to the Node Editor. In this video, you will open up the Node Editor, create some basic materials, apply these materials to our model, and see how adjustments in the Node Editor affect our model. So let's hop straight on over into Blender. Right, so over in Blender there's a couple of things we'll need to do first of all. I'm going to turn my backdrop back on. I'm going to turn, the camera doesn't matter at this point in time. The cone, that was a positional cone and now makes no sense to have anymore, so I'm going to delete that from our scene. Looking down the list here, I've got the lamp that was there and the plane. I'll want to turn both of those on so our light sources are in the scene because the Node Editor is all to do with cycles render. So, and further down here, I think that's all we need to turn on. Don't need to see the rig for this next bit. Now we need to add the Node Editor. So I'm going to go to the splitter widget on the 3D Editor header and just pull that down, and probably about 50-50 for me with my resolution here. Okay, and I'm going to change this bottom one to Node Editor, which is just here. So we're changing the window type to the Node Editor. And it just looks like this space here at the moment. Great. I'm also going to just pan upwards here, and I'm going to start focusing on the base of our lamp. To speed up render times, I'm going to use Ctrl and B and just draw a box around the bottom of the lamp basically, so we can see what's going on. In fact, I'm going to zoom in a little more, so that's filling up the screen. Then I'm just going to draw another border that's just slightly bigger. Then when I switch on Cycles Render at the top here, which it is, and go to Rendered View, it will only render this area here. And I can see that there's light coming in from our plane and everything else. Great. So I'm actually going to create our new material straight away over in the Materials tab over here. So I'm going to create a new material, and you can see two things have straight away appeared in the Node Editor. And for now, I'm just going to push this away to one side so we can see what's going on in the screen in front of us. I'm going to zoom in here because I can't read that at the moment, so you definitely can't. And we've got two items in front of us. These are nodes. Now, nodes can consist of different types. If we go down to Add on the header, we can see there are lots of different types of node that we can have. For the moment, we're going to be dealing with shaders, which is what a diffuse node is, and the material output. That's what we'll actually see. And we're connected here with two lines. So we've got the output here going all the way to the surface material here. If I click and drag that away from there, it literally disappears. But because it's the same as the default material at the moment, it looks no different. If I was to change this color here to something else, there we go, I'm going to make it bright red. Try and make it bright red. I can see a red cast in our scene, and I think we've colored in something else. Yes, we have. So let's select our base first. I didn't select the base, silly me. And I'm literally going to select from the materials here, material. And I'm going to name that material whilst I'm here, red lamp paint. You can choose a different colour if you like. I just like the colour red in this instance. Okay, so we've got a red lamp, and if I pull the surface connector out, it goes black. It's got no material assigned to it. So let's connect those back up again. Now, unlike Blender Render, where you can add the two things together over in the side, you can't do that with this materials property on the right hand side. So I'm just going to make that disappear. Now, what we need to do here, and I'm just going to squish it up a bit further to give myself a bit more space, and I'm going to zoom out here. Hopefully you can still read what's going on. I need to add another shader. So, like anything else in Blender, you can either go down to the Add menu here. I'm going to use the shortcut key Shift and A. So Shift and A will bring up the Add menu. Now I'm going to be looking for the shader that is a mix shader, which is at the top. there's a very quick way. If you know what you're looking for, in this case a mix shader, I'm going to type in, or I'm going to click on search and type in mix shader. It looks like that was the last one I was indeed looking for. And that will add a mix shader node in. Now, if you hover a node over the top of a connector, it will automatically join them together for us. So that's that done there. So we've now got a 50%, that's what this factor here means, of our diffuse shader, so it looks all matte, going to our material output, which is what we see on the screen. Now I want to give it a bit of specularity, a bit of reflection. So in order to do that, I need to add what's called a glossy shader. So I'm going to go down to shaders and just have a quick look down here, and there we go, glossy. If I add that, I'm going to place it next to here. You can place these wherever you like, but for organisational purposes I like to keep these things together. And the output here I'm going to plug into this second shader area. And you can see we're starting to get an interesting render at the top. Right, so let's play about with these a little more. I don't like what's come out there, so I'm going to move this to the left or the right and see if we can get what I think is a better mix. This will be around a 20% mix. That does look a lot better. Now with the glossy shader, there is a series of selections you can go for. The only one that really makes a difference that I can see is sharp. In our particular model, it just produces a sharp reflection, full stop. If I pick any of the others, they all look relatively similar. Now, whilst this is rendering away at the top here, it's only 10 samples. So what I'm going to quickly do is pull this out on the side. I'm going to go to the render properties and scroll down to where we have the sampling. And I'm going to turn the number of samples up in our preview to, I'm going to do 100, you don't have to go that high. And so it will get better and better as I wait. Every time I change something, it will have to start at 0 again, but that's not a big deal for me at the moment because we're only rendering a small area. In fact, I'm going to make the render area just slightly smaller again. Excellent. So I'm still not a great fan of what's going on here. This roughness slider, well, that is very useful when it comes to the glossy. If we turn it all the way up to 100%, it just looks like a matte. It just looks matte again. If we lower it all the way down to nothing, it goes super glossy, as if we had just selected sharp here on the distribution. However, after playing with it, oh, look at that. If we zoom in a little here, we can actually see it's reflecting the rest of the lamp up the top. That's brilliant. So I want to keep some of that reflection in our model. So I'm going to play with this roughness setting. I'm going to start with 0.2 and see if that is high enough. Let's zoom in a little. No, I want something a bit lower, so I'm going to try 0.1. And a lot of this is about experimentation. I can see the reflection is there. It's not really well defined, but it is there, and that's what I want. So I'm just going to pull out a little here. Okay, that's starting to look really good. I'm liking the output here. This factor here, again, if I moved all the way to one side, you just see the shiny part of it, and it looks like we've got some weird artifacts going around the base here. So it'll be worthwhile trying to clean that up in a few moments, and we can bring in the rest of our colour, which is our diffuse over here, into our scene. In fact, I quite like the setting I've managed to get there, which is about 13% coming through that's glossy. Right, let's see if we can quickly, I'm going to bring up the header bar over here. I'm just going to see whether we can go in and edit this and put another loop cut in just around here. And I'm going to bring it out ever so slightly to give it more of a base and see how that affects our render itself, to see if that makes a difference. That gives it a much more defined edge and doesn't look so nasty anymore. So you can see by applying the render soon on in the model, if we had actually gone through and rendered this a little bit earlier, would have been able to correct that geometry as we were going. That's brilliant. I think it's challenge time. I would like you to add material to the rest of the scene. Play with the materials in the node editor, have fun with it. Create at least 2 different materials by using the node editor. Remember, you have a material on the backdrop too, so you can add a different type of material to that, and make sure you assign your new materials to the rest of the lamp so that nothing's left with the default material. Pause the video now and give that a go. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's hop straight over into Blender. Right, so back over in Blender, I'm just going to pull this down a little so I can see what's going on. Let's have a look at what we've got so far. So there are a couple of other bits of our model to apply materials to. I think I'm going to keep my ball joints just a separate colour for the moment, and this one down the bottom here. Oh, I've gone behind my scene by the looks of things. So this stem, I think we've called it. So let's have a look at the stem now, and I'm going to call this metal. Again, I'm just going to play with how this turns out. Let's pull that up. Let's pull that up there. Well, this is actually rendering quite a large area, so I'm going to draw a new area around here so I can just watch it render out. I'm going to add another one, and it's going to be the shader gloss. Only worked with those at the moment. I also want to add a mix shader, which is... oh, I've run out of screen space there for that. I'm going to go to the top of that, I'll add it in, and I'm going to add another one. Okay, so metal's a little shinier than paint in general, and it tends to be kind of grey in colour, I suppose, so I'm going to make it a dark grey, and I'm going to go more towards that dark grey. I'm going to decrease the amount of roughness, not completely, about there. How are we getting on there? Let's zoom in a little and see how that's looking. Oh, keep going behind the scene. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's see what it looks like with that all the way up. No, let's just raise it a little bit more. Okay, the rest of this, these arms, I'm going to actually give those. I'm going to clear my selection for the moment. There we go. I'm going to give these arms the same material, so I can go to the material properties here and do red lamp paint. And I'm going to do the same for the lower arms. There we go. So it just leaves this ball joint here, and I think, and I can neaten that up later on. I'm not going to do it at the moment. I'm going to add in the metal one there. Okay, so now I've got those there. In fact, the metal one, I am going to make it highly reflective. So I'm literally going to set it to sharp, so it just reflects everything that's around it. Okay, so that's the basic lamp done. I'm going to have the backdrop. So let's have a bit of fun with the backdrop. I'm going to add a new material, and I'm going to call it backdrop. Very important to name your materials so you know what's going on. So backdrop. Now I've got loads and loads of choices. I mean, I could essentially change this to diffuse. So delete that, hit X and delete it. Of course, now it's got no material, so it disappears. I'm going to add a shader. That is just glossy. Let's see what happens if we do this. I'm just having a bit of fun here. It might go horribly wrong. So with a roughness of 20, we actually get a reflection going on. Obviously, if we turn it all the way down, we end up with a very, very shiny mirror. And, oh, how does that look? There's got to be another reflection going on at some point over here. Or maybe not. No, no other reflection going on there. Wow, okay, so let's just turn up the roughness ever so slightly. I might leave it like that. Don't know if it's a bit too shiny, but I will give it a different colour. No. Still no. Blue does go well with red, but no. How about an orange? Deep orange. Oh, that's quite nice. Quite a warm scene now. Although the problem with just having it reflective like that is it does look more like the lamp's floating than anything else. So I will add in another diffuse shader and a mix shader. So I'm going to search for mix shader. Add that in. Add this one in here. I'm not going to I'm going to do that across them back over. And I'm going to set the colour down here as, again, a deep colour there. And slowly just turn it a bit up here so it's a bit more shiny. Excellent. Still looks a bit like it's floating though. That might just be me not in the right position or waiting for it to render out. Actually no, it looks absolutely fine. Okay, that's great. I'd love to see what you guys have come up with your rendering of your lamp. And shortly, we'll be making this one move. Until then, I will see you in the next lecture.